Hate crimes like the New Zealand shooting are currently on the rise. Here in the U.S., they have risen for the third consecutive year. The FBI has reported over 7,000 hate crime incidents in 2017. 273 of those were anti-Muslim. Here in South Carolina, the hate crime incidents are fairly low, but the state does not have any hate crime laws in place, leading to limited data. City Roots is the newest farm in South Carolina to join the hemp trend. They will be joining with Brackish Solutions to form a new company called Kinetics. The National Weather Service has put out an advisory and a warning for flooding in the Congaree River. Here at the Congaree National Park, you can already start to see the effects. I'm here at the Springdale Training Center in Camden, where every year South Carolina residents come to watch the Carolina Cup in the spring and the Colonial Cup in the fall. While they do come for the entertainment, the safety of the horses is a #1 priority here. Today's call to prayer has an even greater meaning for the Muslim community. People are gathered here at Nur al-Huda Mosque, not just for worship, but to remember those who died in the New Zealand mosque terrorist attack that claimed 50 lives. The president of the Muslim Student Association at USC, Almira Latir, says this tragic event that happened in a place that is supposed to be safe is not much of a shock.
I feel like the news came as a huge disappointment, but it wasn't shocking per se because we are so desensitized to all the news on the media regarding different shootings everywhere and anywhere. But it was a disappointment to see that something like that happen in a place of worship.
Hate crimes like the New Zealand shooting are currently on the rise. Here in the U.S., they have risen for the third consecutive year. The FBI has reported over 7,000 hate crime incidents in 2017. 273 of those were anti-Muslim. Here in South Carolina, the hate crime incidents are fairly low, but the state does not have any hate crime laws in place, leading to limited data. The president of Interfaith Partners of South Carolina, Adrian Bird, who attended the prayer service, says these day-to-day hate crimes in our community and others need to be faced.
The New Zealand shootings, of course, are prevalent to our attentions. But in the everyday reign of things, what do we do about the student who is walking wearing a hijab and has hot coffee thrown at her, insults thrown at her? How do we challenge the prejudice and the hate that is a part of day-to-day reality?
For the Muslim community, coming together and opening their arms in mosques to their fellow peers is how they are fighting against prejudice and hate. Here at the Nur al-Huda Mosque, board member Mark Hill says they are doing just that.
We've got to make sure that we're welcoming to our neighbors, and as you can see here, we've established that in the Columbia area. We have an interfaith community, and so things are good.
Almira Latir hopes people use this as an open invitation to become more informed on what Islam is really about.
I feel like not only is it our jobs as Muslims to go out into the community and ask or kind of relay that we are a very peaceful religion, peaceful people, but I think it also is a two-way street where people from neighboring communities, different beliefs, faiths, all that kind of stuff should come up to us and make it a point to get to know what Muslims truly believe and what type of people we are.
While hate and prejudice won't be going away anytime soon, the Muslim community will continue to stay strong. For Carolina News, I'm Maggie Rhoads. If you have plans to make a trip to the Riverwalk or the Congaree National Park this weekend, you may want to reschedule. There is currently a flood warning for the Congaree National Park in areas in downtown Columbia near the river, till further notice. The hydrologist for Columbia's National Weather Service, Leonard Vaughn, explains where this flooding is coming from, since this area hasn't experienced much heavy rain.
We haven't had that much rainfall like in the Columbia area per se over the last several days, but there has been a lot of rainfall in the river basins in the upper part of the basin, and that would be across areas of western North Carolina and the upstate. And so eventually all that water flows down into South Carolina and causes the rise on the river.
The Congaree is now at 116 feet and may continue to rise if it rains this weekend. The National Weather Service has put out an advisory and a warning for flooding in the Congaree River. Here at the Congaree National Park, you can already start to see the effects. Rangers have begun to let visitors know the park is in the flood stage and many of the trails will be closed. The park floods many times every year, so the rangers are prepared for these moments.
We use that as a moment just to teach about what, Congaree is. It's a floodplain. Flooding is a natural event here. It's supposed to happen here. It's what makes this landscape what it is. We wouldn't have it without the flooding.
While the staff of the park are used to flooding, Columbia residents should proceed with caution. For Carolina News, I'm Maggie Rhoads. This fall happened in March of this year at the Carolina Cup in Camden. While the horse survived, the fall illustrates a highly debated topic: the safety of horses during races. The races in Camden are steeplechasing, a popular type of horse racing along the East Coast and over in the UK and Ireland, where thoroughbreds jump over fences at a fast pace along the course. Data for horse injuries and deaths from steeplechasing in the U.S. is limited, but the owner of the South Carolina Equine Association, Jeffrey Whitwer, says injuries do occur. He says while they mostly deal with torn ligaments and tendons when a horse falls, sometimes they see more serious injuries.
Because of the jumps, we do unfortunately see broken necks, broken shoulders, long bone fractures sometimes because of the impact of hitting the ground at that speed, and a lot of times those have to be euthanized.
I'm here at the Springdale Training Center in Camden, where every year South Carolina residents come to watch the Carolina Cup in the spring and the Colonial Cup in the fall. While they do come for the entertainment, the safety of the horses is a #1 priority here.
Everything about the sport is made up to make it safe. The horse is, to all of us, he's more of a pet to us in thoroughbred, in steeplechasing. It's still a sport, it's not a business. The people involved love their horses and they're not about to put them at risk.
The executive director of the Carolina Cup Association, Toby Edwards, is a former jockey and trainer, and now helps manage the training center and racecourse in Camden. He says while the sport can be dangerous for the horses, there are multiple safety precautions in place.
We'll never sit on our laurels and think that we've finalized it and figured it out. So every year there are more protocols that are put in place to make sure that it is as safe as it possibly can be.
On the day of the race, they have several veterinarians on site, and each horse is fully examined before the race begins. And if they are injured, they are immediately attended to. Whitwer is one of those veterinarians and says they save a lot more horses than they used to, and the overall safety of the horses has improved.
There is a more thorough and a more uniform examination before the races. So horses with problems and lame horses are not allowed to run. So that helps a lot. And the medical attention or the veterinary attention at the races, I think, is better than it used to be.
Edwards thinks it's important to understand why people get into steeplechase racing and how the health of their horses is always the priority.
When you look at the owners in steeplechasing, they tend to be in it for the love of the horse. They've been in it generationally often, and they like to see their horses come off the racecourse sound, healthy, fit.
While falls like this can't be stopped, safety measures will continue in order to make sure horses make it safely off the track. For Carolina News, I'm Maggie Rhoads.